3 years late in establishing an IEBC commission. That's why, Honorable Speaker, I agree with you when you said that there is nobody under our constitution who can injunct us from either vetting or approving these names. Honorable Speaker, I also want to speak to those who are in the judiciary to be considerate of the circumstances that we are in as a nation. Honorable Speaker, moving on to the nominees, it's saddening, Honorable Speaker, that because of politics, a number of us out there had started demonizing some of these nominees, largely on account of where they come
Majority Leader,
from.
although you are entitled to 15 minutes, but I want you to be considerate and speak for much less.
I will endeavor to do that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying it was very inconsiderate also, now that I want to be considerate, to hear somebody who has held a high national office assert that Erastus, the nominee, Mr. Erastus Edung Ethekon, the nominee for chair, does not warrant to hold that position on account of where he comes from. It was sad, Honorable Speaker, that somebody can say, because Erastus comes from a community that he perceives not to have shares or adequate shares in his own analysis, that Ethekon does not deserve to chair this commission. Honorable Speaker, if you read through the CV of this gentleman, a master's in law from the University of Derby in the UK, a postgraduate, a bachelor's from the University of Nairobi in law. This is someone who qualifies to be a judge of the High Court or even the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker. And that is all that is required in law. The law never required you to come from an ethnic community that pleases those who think that it is on the basis of your ethnicity that people should be given jobs. Honorable Speaker, I want to say Mr. Erastus Ethekon, wherever he comes from, whether he comes from Nyeri or from Turkana, he is a Kenyan. And it was rather unfortunate to hear the former deputy president, the impeached deputy president, and disgraced former deputy president, assert that Mr. Ethekon does not warrant to be nominated for this position on account of the community he comes from. I heard another one, Honorable Speaker, Martha Karua, saying that this Ethekon comes from some bush somewhere. Turkana is not a bush. It is part and parcel of our republic. And we must respect people not on the basis of where they come from, but on the basis of what the content of their heads. And I am sure this lawyer is a better lawyer than Martha Karua. By far, I am certain. He's a much better lawyer. Honorable Speaker, this county of Turkana has produced a very well-schooled individual, Honorable Speaker. And I speak about Ethekon because I heard him being attacked by these disgruntled political faces on account not on his qualifications, not on his ability or capacity to lead this commission, but largely on the basis of where he comes from. And it's rather sad that people who purport to have held national offices can demonize a whole community on the basis, or a person on the basis of the community they comes from. And I want to say this, Erastus, looking at his CV, just like the CVs of all these other nominees, are people who qualify to serve the Republic of Kenya as commissioners of an independent electoral and boundaries commission, Honorable Speaker. And as I said, we are rather late in establishing this commission, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, to speak to those out there who are looking at these people on the basis of their ethnicities, on the basis of the villages they come from, let me tell them, you will never win an election on the basis of who is presiding over that election. You win elections based on what agenda you take to the people. If you take an agenda of
Honorable
ethnicity...
Joseph Ematha, you have already spoken on this. What is irritating you? Yes, what's your point of order?
Point of, Honorable Speaker, I beg if you will allow, and even to guide on this, that that thing has not been able to be responded well in my community. And we have the Committee on Cohesion. We also have a commission on the same.
Order,
and Honorable Speaker,
order,
if that could be picked, if that could be picked as a country, because that
Order,
is
Honorable Mother. I gave you an opportunity to speak. You didn't even mention that. Take your seat.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe I reminded the Honorable Member what was said of this great man from the lakeside of Turkana. And he's a great leader. And I was saying, Honorable Speaker, you never win an election based on who is presiding over that election. If you want to win an election, take your agenda to the people of Kenya. Speak to the people of Kenya. You will never win an election based on hatred. You will never win an election because you are showing bitterness to everybody, or belittling people from certain communities because you think the village you come from is more important than other villages in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, we all come from certain villages, and they are as important as your small village, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this commission, as I said, we are 3 years late. And the sooner we approve, the sooner the president appoints, and the sooner this commission begins working, the better for this country, Honorable Speaker. Because there are people who are suffering in this country, lacking representation, Honorable Speaker. The people of Banisa, may I not remind you, Honorable Speaker, have sued you. Yes. Not anybody else, you as a Speaker of the National Assembly, because they lack representation in this House. And so are the other constituencies, Honorable Speaker, the people of Magarini, the people now of Kasipul, Kabondo, and many wards across the country where people are lacking representation simply because we do not have an IEBC. In fact, Honorable Speaker, any leader, whether in this House or outside there, who is not in support of this motion and the establishment of a new IEBC is an enemy to this republic, is an enemy to the people of Kenya. That is someone who does not wish this country well. And may I dare say, Honorable Speaker, even any person in the judiciary who would imagine that they would come into the way of stopping us from having an IEBC, you would not be acting in the best interest of the Republic and the people of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, may I also take this opportunity, Speaker, to plead with our judges and the judiciary, Honorable Speaker, to take what they call, or what you lawyers call, judicial notice of the circumstances that we are in as a country. We have by-elections pending. We have electoral delimitation to be done ahead of the elections. May I also remind us, ourselves, Honorable Speaker, the Kriegler Commission told us that at least 2 years before every election, we should have a commission ready. Honorable Speaker, we are slightly above that 2-year threshold. It is time we have a commission so that if there is the limitation that they will do, they are able to do that. If they have to register new voters, they need time to register new voters. They need to remove those who are deceased from the register of voters. And they need to clean up the register of voters in good time, so that when we defeat these hate mongers in the next elections, Honorable Speaker, they will have no excuse. Those who have a premonition that 2027, Honorable Speaker, as was said here in the adjournment motion by the leader of minority, those who imagined, Honorable Speaker,
point
that
of
would...
order from Chepkonga. What's your point of order?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, I was just listening very carefully to the majority leader, and I don't intend to interrupt him because he's saying very palatable things, Mr. Speaker. It is not impalatable. You know, he's saying very good things. The only thing that he has just said is that these nominees must be approved as soon as possible. And I thought Standing Order 97 allows us to approve as soon as possible. Would I be in order, Mr. Speaker, to request you to call the mover to reply so that we approve as soon as possible?
Honorable
Mr. Speaker, you had said 4:30.
I had already said at what time I'll call the mover to reply. Yes. Yes. So, wind up.
I think, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chepkonga was simply prompting me to close this so that we can approve these names as soon as possible, as he says, Honorable Speaker. And now I've even lost what I was saying. But, Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that we need this commission as early or as soon as we can, Honorable Speaker, to allow this commission to get down to work. Honorable Speaker, in closing, I was saying, in 2 years' time, we'll have a general election, because that is time-bound, and we must have a general election. And therefore, we must work within the timeline that is given to ensure that the commission that we establish or the commission that we put in place has adequate time to put all the measures necessary to ensure that we have an election in 2027 that will be beyond reproach, so that we shame the hate mongers, the war mongers who have been threatening us that 2027 there will be more bloodshed than 2007, Honorable Speaker. Those warmongers, those bloodthirsty leaders, Honorable Speaker, or so-called leaders who do not deserve to be leaders, if they can imagine that the 2007 post-election violence was a Christmas party, Honorable Speaker, we must shame them today by approving these names, having a commission in place, and having credible elections in 2027. And I am certain we will beat them on the basis of an agenda that is pro-people, an agenda that is transforming lives across the country. As they move around the country spreading hatred, inciting Kenyans, showing a lot of bitterness, and imagining that Kenya will go into the abyss because of their anger and hatred for other Kenyans. With that, I beg to support, Honorable Speaker.
Members, I had said I'll call the mover to reply.